This dive was supposed to be routine. Another day at the office, if your office is 3,000 meters beneath the surface, encased in titanium, and surrounded by a pressure that could pulverize steel. We were charting a previously unexplored section of the abyssal plain, a monotonous but necessary task. The darkness down here is absolute, a physical presence that swallows light whole. The only stars are the bioluminescent creatures that drift past like ghosts, and the only sound is the hum of our own life support and the steady, reassuring pulse of the sonar. It's a rhythm you learn to trust, the heartbeat of the machine that keeps you alive. Each ping sent out into the void is a question, and the echoes that return are the answers, painting a picture of the unseen world around us. We were mapping geological formations, searching for hydrothermal vents, the usual checklist. Nothing in our mission brief prepared us for what was to come. The sonar is our set of eyes, our sense of touch, our only guide through the crushing black. It sings its song into the abyss, and we listen to the reply. Rock formations have a particular signature, a soft, irregular echo. The silt and sediment of the seafloor return a gentle, fuzzy wash. You get to know the sounds of the deep. You learn to distinguish the echo of a whale fall from a volcanic outcrop. It becomes second nature. For hours, the returns were exactly what we expected. The gentle slope of the plain, the occasional rocky ridge. It was predictable. It was safe. Until the scanner did this. It wasn't a soft echo. It was a hard return, sharp and sudden. A vertical line on the display where there should have been nothing but flat terrain. The system registered it as a high-density object, metallic in composition. That alone was enough to get our full attention. But then came the glitch. A split-second tear in the data feed, accompanied by a burst of static. It was a signature of electromagnetic interference. Down here, far from any surface-level noise or known power sources, that's not just unusual. It's impossible. Something answered for us. The mission parameters were clear: observe, document, and do not engage with unknown variables. But a metallic object generating an EM field at this depth wasn't a variable. It was a paradox. A decision was made. We had to investigate. We disengaged from our survey grid and began a controlled descent toward the coordinates of the anomaly. The thrusters whirred, pushing us deeper. Every meter we dropped, the pressure increased, the groans of the ROV's hull a constant reminder of the immense weight of the ocean above. It was already there. We dropped to the abyss. Our lights, powerful as they were, could only penetrate a few dozen meters of the oppressive gloom. We were flying blind, relying entirely on that single insistent point on the sonar display. As we drew closer, a shape began to resolve itself from the darkness. It was a shadow, a void within the void, something that didn't reflect the light but seemed to absorb it. The scale was wrong. It was too large, too defined. The seafloor is a realm of slow decay, of rounded edges and soft coverings of sediment. This was different. This was sharp. Cameras steady. We held our position, letting the silt settle. And there it was. A structure of impossible geometry resting on the seabed. It wasn't a wreck. There was no debris field, no sign of impact, no scattered cargo. It was just there, as if it had been placed. The object was angular with perfectly straight lines and clean 90-degree angles. Nature doesn't build in straight lines, not like this. This was manufactured. It was a product of intelligence. Lights tight. Sonar swept the black like a slow heartbeat. The returns confirmed its structure, a massive sealed container. Our charts for this region were blank. No recorded shipwrecks, no satellite debris, no lost submersibles. We cross-referenced every database we had access to, military, commercial, historical. Nothing. According to the sum total of human knowledge, this object did not exist. We moved in for a closer look, our manipulator arm extending a high-resolution camera. The surface was unlike any alloy we recognized. It was a dark, matte metal that seemed to drink the light from our lamps, and it was pristine. In the hypersaline, high-pressure environment of the deep sea, corrosion is relentless. Metal succumbs in a matter of years, if not months. It gets covered in marine growth, colonized by life. But this object was immaculate. No corrosion, no marine growth. The fine silt around its base was barely disturbed, suggesting it had been here for a very, very long time, yet it looked like it had been forged yesterday. We traced its edges, seams flawless. The construction was seamless, with no discernible welds, bolts, or rivets. It was as if it had been formed from a single, massive piece of material. The precision was beyond any manufacturing capability we were aware of. The edges were sharp enough to be machined, not worn down by millennia of deep-sea currents. Edges like a blade. It was a masterpiece of engineering, sitting silently at the bottom of the world. But the biggest mystery was yet to come. At this depth, everything should be ice cold. The ambient water temperature is a stable 2 degrees Celsius, just above freezing. Any object, no matter how warm it was on the surface, would lose its heat to the immense, cold ocean in a matter of hours. It's a fundamental law of thermodynamics. There are no exceptions. On a hunch, we engaged the thermal overlay. The screen shifted to a map of heat. The surrounding water, the seabed, the ROV itself, all registered as a deep, cold blue. But this wasn't cold. A faint, undeniable glow emanated from the object's core. It was generating its own heat. Thermal overlay engaged, and it read warm. The numbers on the display began to climb, settling at an impossible figure. 31 degrees Celsius. The temperature of a living thing. A low-level warning flag popped on the HUD. Thermal anomaly. It was the understatement of the century. To maintain that temperature against the chilling effect of the deep ocean would require a colossal energy source. A nuclear reactor, perhaps. But there was no radiation signature, no steam, no evidence of any known power generation. Numbers climbing into an impossible red. We pulled the ROV back. A sense of profound unease settled over the control room. The laws of physics as we knew them were being violated right in front of our eyes. Nothing stays warm down here. Nothing. The implications were staggering. An unknown, advanced object, sitting on the sea floor, powered by an inexplicable energy source, and completely absent from any official record. This discovery had moved beyond science and into something else entirely. We initiated a full 360-degree survey. The object was a perfect, monolithic cuboid, completely sealed on all sides. There were no hatches, no doors, no control panels, no way in and no way out. It was designed, not lost. This wasn't a piece of wreckage. It was a deliberate construction, placed here for a purpose. But what purpose could justify such technology, such secrecy? The next logical step was to determine its mass. We carefully positioned the ROV's manipulator arms, rated for several tons of lift force, under one edge. We applied gentle pressure, then increased it to maximum. The arms strained, the hydraulic motors whining in protest. The object didn't budge. It was anchored to the seabed with an unnatural weight, far exceeding what its size and estimated material density would suggest. It was another impossibility in a growing list of them. Then, the feed started breaking. The moment our arms made significant contact, the EM interference spiked. Our data link, a hardened fiber optic cable, was flooded with noise. The video feed tore, the audio cut out, and for a terrifying moment, we were completely blind. When the signal returned, everything seemed normal. But the message was clear. The object had reacted to our touch, and that's when we saw the temperature gauge. The heat signature was fading. The numbers on the thermal display were plummeting, dropping from 31 degrees down to single digits in a matter of seconds. It was as if the object had noticed it was being watched, being touched, and had deliberately shut down its power source to avoid detection, like it noticed it was being touched. As the temperature stabilized near the ambient cold of the water, we observed another phenomenon, a micro-vibration along the main seam. It was almost imperceptible, a faint shudder that ran the length of the object, accompanied by a series of high-frequency clicks that our acoustic sensors picked up. It was the sound of something vast and complex reconfiguring itself, the sound of a lock engaging. The interference returned, stronger this time. Our lights flickered, and warning flags popped across the HUD. Every instrument told us to back away. The signal noise flooded the feed. The alarms, once chirping, now whispered with a persistent, low-level urgency. We were trespassing, and the owner was making its displeasure known. In the flickering light, just before we pulled back completely, our high-resolution camera caught something. A mark, etched into the surface with the same impossible precision as the rest of the object. It was a small, complex symbol, a glyph unlike anything in our databases. It wasn't a corporate logo, a national flag, or any known company stamp. It was alien, ancient, a signature. We had a choice: abort the mission and leave this enigma to its secrets, or push forward. The potential scientific value was immeasurable. The risks were completely unknown. We decided to lift it. If we could just break it free from the sediment, we could attach a recovery buoy and bring it to the surface. The clamps locked on with a sharp metallic snap. The motors whined, and with a deep groan of protest from the seabed, the object lifted. The moment it broke free, a hairline fracture appeared along the main seam. The internal pressure had changed. A stream of tiny iridescent bubbles escaped from the crack, not rising as normal gas would, but drifting sideways in the current before dissipating. The seal was compromised. And that's when everything changed. The feed died. A blast of static and a total signal loss. When it came back, the thermal camera was pulsing. A rhythmic, steady beat of heat, like a colossal heart, now beating from within the object. There was something inside, still active. The movement detectors, which had been silent, now screamed with alerts. Something was shifting within the container. Something large. We dropped it. The command was given without a moment's hesitation. The clamps released and the object fell back to the seafloor, sending a shockwave through the water that shook our ROV like a leaf. The HUD flashed with protocol queries. Abort, recover, contain. The situation had escalated beyond any contingency we had planned for, and in that moment, the truth became terrifyingly clear. We had made a catastrophic miscalculation. This wasn't treasure. This wasn't a discovery to be celebrated. Looking at the data, the impossible heat, the reaction to our touch, the seal that was never meant to be broken, it was containment. A prison. As we watched, the hairline crack vanished. The metal flowed back together, leaving the surface as seamless as it was before. The thermal pulsing ceased. The internal movement stopped. The object returned to a state of dormancy, its temperature stabilized, its secrets once again locked away. Someone placed it here, to be forgotten. They had built a cage of impossible technology and dropped it into the most inaccessible place on the planet, hoping it would never be found. We understood what we had to do. This was not our secret to uncover. We covered it back up. Using the manipulator arms, we carefully pushed the silt and sediment back over the object, burying it once more beneath the ocean floor, hiding it from the world, just as its creators had intended. We erased our own footprints. As we began our ascent, leaving the site behind, the sonar, which had been quiet, gave one last spike. A single, sharp, deliberate ping. Not an echo, but a transmission. A final, chilling acknowledgement. It knew we were there. It knew we were leaving. And it wasn't done. We cut power. Cameras go dark. The official log of the dive was redacted. The coordinates were wiped. The data was classified at the highest level. The thing remained, silent and deliberate. It was never meant to be opened.